Alright guys, hope you're all doing well. This is Twiggus Trades back with another video. And today I want to talk about a company that has a great mission, a great leader, and a company I just want to cheer on. But they also have a couple catalysts coming up. And personally, I've held this stock for over a year, and I want to share it with you because now I think it's a great time to buy, even better than when I bought it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today's company is going to be about Rivian. And if you haven't seen a Rivian car on the road, you will soon. And I bet if you pay attention within the next week, you'll see a few of them. So first I want to talk about the CEO. He's a founder. He's a PhD in mechanical engineering, founder and CEO since 2009. And this just combines his two passions. He loves being in nature, and he spent a lot of time as a kid restoring cars. And this is a way to combine both together. Brings that eco-friendly sustainability and building cars. I think it's great. It's something to get behind because it's for a good cause, and it's his passion. And I believe in him. I believe in the mission, and that's why I'm all in already. But that's not why you should invest. There's also some good things coming soon. Take a look at their history. So 2009, founded as Mainstream Motors, later renamed Rivian. I think it was after a river near where he grew up. They were first focused on autonomous and efficient vehicles, not EVs specifically, and then they fully shifted to EVs in 2015. And then in 2017, they bought the Mitsubishi factory in Illinois, and it's its manufacturing hub now. Now 2018 to 2020. So they had product launches and deals. 2018, they revealed the R1T and the R1S, and these are their most popular cars. These are the ones you'll see out on the road. But you also might see their electric vans. I think there's about 20,000 of them on the road right now, and there's going to be 80,000 more of them. So you'll definitely be seeing them eventually. And they also got $2.5 billion in funding from a lot of investors like Amazon and a couple others. And then they IPO'd at the perfect time during that huge spike in 2021 with all the IPOs, and they got over $12 billion from it, which is heavily needed. When you're making a car company, a lot of R&D, a lot of cash burn, it's incredibly hard to start up a company like this, and that IPO helped them out a lot. So 2021 to present, the stock did drop over 80% from IPO highs. That was during the big, kind of bubble with tech and stuff like this. There was a lot of hype behind this. Definitely wasn't ready to be at that stock price with a $100 billion market cap. Now it's somewhere, I think, like 15 or 16, so definitely cooled down a little bit. So they've been cutting costs, doing some layoffs. They got their first gross profit, Q4 2024, and they opened their van sales beyond Amazon. So originally, when they made that deal with Amazon, they were only allowed to make vans for Amazon. Now that is no longer in play. They also I know they have two contracts, one with HelloFresh and AT&T, and it's likely we'll see some more in the future. And that's pretty good because they don't have to spend any R&D costs on making new vans. They already have the materials and the factory set up to build those. Alright, so let's take a look at their financials. So we can see the gross profit consistently achieved, and net profitability is due by late 2026 and early 2027, depending on a couple factors, which we'll get into. But it's important to note that with cash burn, taking that consistent amount for the most recent quarter and assuming there's no new funding and no cost cuts, they would be able to survive till late 2026. Although the odds are that there will be cost cuts and they will get funding. They have a joint venture with Volkswagen, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But you can see there, a lot of cash burn. It's an incredibly hard business to get into. But you can see that on the right-hand side, that cash burn is going down pretty well, and they're preparing for something, and we'll get into that. So their assets are greater than their market cap. Take that as you will. And they have almost $8 billion in cash. That's a lot, but they'll need all of it to make a car company successful, and I think they will. And see, I just want to show you guys again, their cash burn has been going down. We can see in 2021, that was the year of the IPO. They got a lot of funding. And each year since then, it's been going slowly down, which is great to see. If they keep up that path, late 2026, we should see it with the consistent demand increase as well. Let's get into some recent news. So after pausing in early 2024, they were building a plant in Georgia, but they now beginning construction again, and they're inspecting groundbreaking in 2026 and operations beginning in 2028. And something to take note of is the U.S. did give them a loan. There was a little bit of concern whether Trump's alliance with Elon Musk would get rid of that, but it's also American manufacturing, and that's something he's been really big on. And I think we're in the clear at this point, but it's definitely something important to know. It is a little bit of a risk, but I think from how long it's been since he's been on cutting all that, the loans and stuff like that, I think it's okay. They are also adding a supplier park beside its factory in Illinois, and this will help cover tariff costs, but it also gets them ready for their R2 SUV in 2026, and that is the big catalyst for why this stock will succeed and company over the long term. So this happened about a year ago, but Volkswagen wanted to get Rivian software. So there's nothing out of Rivian's pocket. All they are doing is sharing their software and helping them build their own startup, Scout. Now they don't directly compete, and Scout's going to take a while to start up, but this helps Rivian's cash situation out a lot. So far they've achieved about $3 billion from the 5.8 potential, and they should be getting that and the rest in the next couple of years. And this gives them the capital they need to research and develop and get ready to launch the R2. Now they also opened up an East Coast factory in Georgia. They definitely have most of their business on the West Coast, especially in California, Oregon, Washington. But I live on the East Coast. I've seen more cars on the road. And this is just a great first step, especially with their plant in Georgia so close. And they are also opening a London office to pursue AI and autonomous driving with the talent in London. They are also planning on bringing their new 2026 R2 into Europe to break into that market. And it's a unique niche that the R2 would be fitting in. But I'll get into that in a second. Right now, let's take a look at what cars they currently have. Alright, so first they have the R1S. This has been out for a while. It's definitely a premium product. It starts at $76,000. There's a 400-mile battery, seats 7, and they just launched the quad motor model. Now, the quad motor model packs a punch. I mean, it's got 300 horsepower in each wheel, and it just recently came out. So if you're looking for the most premium Rivian product, you most likely would have bought it this coming quarter, and that'll show up on the earnings, hopefully. Alright, so this is their truck model. So they also just launched the quad edition like the R1S. It starts at 70,000, 400 miles battery, and it is the most capable EV truck on the market. I've watched a bunch of reviews from the Ford, GM's competitors, and this is by far the best one. I mean, people on farms use it. I've seen a couple of those, and it's just the highest rated truck out there. I mean, you can look at some of the sites online, go through the best EV trucks. It's going to be number one, and that's great to see. So this is the R2, and it's coming in the first half of 2026. And this completely unlocks a new customer base with the lower price point. And it'll also be the first Rivian car in Europe. Now that is huge because they don't really have that adventurous type. It fits the right niche, and it starts at a low price. It's affordable at $45,000 and over 300 miles range. And not only that, but there's a lot of Rivian owners looking to get their second Rivian. I've seen this in comment sections, reviews, all that kind of stuff, and I was kind of surprised to see that. I mean, normally a lot of people don't get two of the same car, but a lot of people are looking to become these Rivian families. There's a lot of brand loyalty to it just because of how great the cars are. And here's one expected in 2027. Personally, I want this to be my first car. I thought they were pretty cool. If you look it up, their back end is really unique. It's going to be 40,000 or lower. There's not much known about it now. There's also going to be a better version called the R3X, and that's the car I want. I think they're pretty cool. Definitely check out their presentation that came out a while ago. It was pretty cool. Alright, so this is their EV fleet van. It's one of the only medium commercial EV vans on the market, especially for fleets. You've probably seen one of these Amazon vans, and if you haven't, I have no doubt you will. And they start at $80,000. Now this is good. It gives that Rivian consistent cash. For the rest of the vans, I mean, they still have a few more to deliver to Amazon, but they also have AT&T, HelloFresh, and they should get some more contracts as well. All right, so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the tailwinds behind this. So the R2, this is the big catalyst for the company, breaking into that lower tier market and building up demand for Rivians. So time to profitability be largely determined by this launch. And they've said the factory in Illinois will have the capacity to make 55,000 R2. Something to note is it will begin in Illinois earlier. Originally, they were planning to build it in the Georgia plant, but that would have taken 2 more years for them to be ready. So they're doing it in Illinois. They are leaving a little bit of the factory capacity to make 55,000. So they did that, and I've kind of crunched the numbers. I asked ChatGPT a little bit, but I think a successful launch would have 50,000 R2 sold, and they're prepared to make that much. So now we just need to figure out, is the demand going to be enough? And I think there will be. Okay, so here's the R2 metrics of what we know so far. So 68,000 people reserved it in 24 hours, and that was confirmed by the CEO. Another member of their executives said that it's well over 100,000 by mid-2024. So that's pretty good. They only need 50% conversion off those reservations to reach their goal of 50,000. But that's not all. So there's also been some Reddit chatter. It's unofficial, but I believe it. It sounds like something that would slip out from a sales staff, and that is 200,000 reservations. Hopefully that's true. Take it as you will. I think it was just important to put on here. It's obviously a little bit skeptical, but I could see a sales staff just spilling the beans on something like this. But 200,000, if that is the case, they only need 25% of the people who originally reserved, and hopefully that number is even higher now. So if 25% of people are willing to reserve their car for like a $100 deposit, I think it's pretty safe to say they will meet or exceed the demand, especially with those 55,000 slots. And so another tailwind is the Tesla backlash. Although they don't directly compete, there is a little bit of market share that does cross over, and I'll talk about that. So first of all, Tesla declined 14% year over year in Q1 and Q2 of 2025. In USA, their market share dropped from over 50% to 42% in the EV market. Europe, it dropped by 28% in Q2, and in Canada there was a 67% drop in Q1. I definitely think Rivian will benefit from the Canadian drop, especially because there's a lot of outdoors people there. I actually was in Canada recently, and you would not believe how many Teslas were on the road. Everybody had an EV. It was insane. And that drop, I think Rivian could definitely see increase in sales in Canada just because people love an EV there, and they're right there to fill that need. There's not a lot of other players in Canada. So not directly competing, although the R2 and Tesla Model Y are around the same price point. So the Model Y was the most sold vehicle in Europe last year. So that leaves a lot of demand for a low-cost electric SUV like the R2. And it adds that adventurous element as well. It's able to go off-road, be customizable, and you can turn all the seats and put an air mattress in there. I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely check out the presentations for the R2 and the R3. They're really interesting. And then the R1S, although the Tesla Model X is more of a luxurious, Rivian is designed for that more outdoorsy utility. So there's a little bit of crossover there, but definitely not like it's gobbling all of its market share just from the backlash. So interest rate cuts. Hopefully there's 2 more basis point cuts, easing borrowing costs for the potential buyers. And the Jackson Hole meeting was just this week, so we know we're going to see 1 rate cut, hopefully. And this will help a lot with car buyers looking to buy. All right, now there are a couple headwinds with this company, and of course one of those is tariffs. Now, Rivian does manufacture their stuff in America, but it could hurt their timetable for net profitability if they do decide to put tariffs on some of the supplies they need, and it might slow demand down, slow the economy. Although it seemed to kind of go away, especially with the delays and stuff like that. There's been a lot of trade deals, so I'm not too concerned about this, but it's definitely something to consider if you want to invest. And here's a couple other reasons. So Rivian is a premium vehicle at the end of the day, especially with their R1S and R1T. But the R2, that's not as premium, but it definitely, consumers would be able to take that cost, especially people looking to buy their second Rivian, which I was talking about earlier. There's a lot of second-time buyers. And then they also are building a supplier park, so this will be able to build more parts in America and take some of that cost away from tariffs. And Trump hasn't really followed through on his threats yet, so I think it's okay. I think we're kind of out of the woods with this, but always consider it. Anything could happen with Trump. It's kind of sporadic these days. All right, now with the big beautiful bill passing, the EV tax credits will be eliminated. Although it will sting a little bit, Rivian is a premium product overall, and I think a lot of the buyers will be able to withstand this cost. And I was also reading today that deliveries, they don't have to be delivered by September. People can purchase them online before then. So it might actually help this quarter for Rivian. If people were waiting to buy a car, they might buy it now, so until that tax credit goes away. So we should see a little bit of increase in sales this quarter, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. So some things I really liked and why I originally bought the company is they are the only EV player to occupy this outdoorsy adventure space. And this just makes perfect sense to me. I mean, the outdoorsy people, the people who love to go camping, I mean, they care for the environment. And what better way to do that than buy a car that fits your lifestyle and is great for the environment? And they also have a huge following online. Now, if you look at Reddit, I encourage you to look at the Rivian subreddit. Not only do they talk about, of course, the problems they have and getting help from people online, which you'll see on any car page, but they also have people talking about how excited they are to get the Rivian. And you won't see that on any other car page. They have builds and designs that people have used to go camping, and I'll show some of those in a second. But you won't see that anywhere else, especially on like a page like Tesla. That's mostly news, but people will talk about what they've done, how they've used the Rivian, what it's been able to do for them. So here I just want to show a couple examples of what I'm talking about. So first one, someone who's had it for over 2.5 years, and they're still just so happy to have it. And that really encourages me as an investor. It keeps me happy. It's great to see. And as we see the camping setup as well, there's a lot of examples on there. If you go scroll through, I highly encourage you to. And here's a couple other ones. We have beach camping, another camping one. It's just super cool stuff. And I just like the company in general, not only because it's a great investment, but what they stand behind, what they offer. I want a Rivian now, and the stuff they do is just really cool. All right, so here's their sales. So steadily been rising up to 2023, it peaked, and it's dropped a little bit since 2025. And I'm not overly concerned about this because costs are still being cut. They're still on track to be profitable, and they have the R2 coming out soon. And some buyers might be waiting for that more affordable option, or they might be waiting for that extreme premium option, and that comes in the quads. And those just came out. So I'd expect to see a rise in sales, especially with the tax credits ending. That may encourage buyers to get in sooner, especially with the quads. And the R2 should definitely boost sales. I mean, that target goal. And you saw how many reservations there were. So I think 55,000 is achievable. They should be able to max out the factory production on that. So I'm excited to see what comes next. All right, so let's talk about their valuation. Now, of course, there are some risks. We highlighted some of those. Tariffs, R2 delays. They're on track right now, and I think that'll be okay. And then the Tesla price wars, although they don't directly compete, I'm not too worried about the price wars or Tesla right now. And then political instability with the EV credits. I think Rivian is a premium product. I want to definitely emphasize that. People will be willing to pay for that Rivian. It's a brand. They love the brand. And then high CapEx outpaces their cash. They have a ton of cash, and they've helped do that by repurposing their current factory and kind of delaying the building, although that started up again, so they're on pace for that. And just a quick bull case, I'm not into DCFs or anything like that, but I think it could definitely be 100 plus before 2030. If demand starts to take off, we get multiple expansion because of the demand growth we see with the R2 and other models. And the big catalyst for this is R2 production. Will there be enough demand? Personally, I think there will be. I mean, we saw the reservation numbers. I've watched a lot of reviews. I've scrolled online, and I think people really love this brand. And I think there will be plenty of people that want to get their hands on an R2. Now, there's also a bear case side to this. So Rivian could burn through its cash and have an unsuccessful launch of R2. And I think this is extremely unlikely. Again, going back to that brand loyalty, people want to stick with Rivian ever since they got their hands on one. Look through their Reddit. And expanding into new markets, especially with Europe, there's not really an outdoorsy EV yet, so they should be able to get into that space. I've seen a couple comments on Instagram of people wanting it in Europe as well. And that niche of outdoorsmen environmentalists and increasing EV demand, that is extremely important. And I think that's one of the most powerful things, the loyalty and the niche they occupy. I just think it is a great niche. Personally, I love the company. I'm happy to invest in them anyways, but I really think it is a good opportunity, especially right now before the R2 launch. The stock is trading pretty low, so I'd get in there while you can. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Leave some feedback in the comments, give me a stock idea, anything. I'm happy to answer, take questions. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.